Здравствуйте! После долгого перерыва вас приветствует City Hall. Напомню, что спонсор нашей программы – агентство Aurora of Care, которое делает жизнь своих пациентов комфортной и безопасной. Сегодня у нас в гостях councilman at large Филадельфии Дэвид О. Вам хорошо знакомый. И сегодня он у нас в студии, и мы задаем ему ваши вопросы. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
And our first question is... Первый вопрос, который мы хотим задать Дэвиду О, это итоги 2022 года, прошедшего года. Что было хорошего в этом году в городе, что было сделано для этого города за этот период, и как вы его провожаете?
It's been a very busy year, and it's been a very tough year. We're coming off of the pandemic still, and there have been decisions made in City Hall, as well as in our business community and our neighborhoods that have impacted how we live. Currently, our biggest problem is crime, but secondly, it's the economy and how people make a living and what the future holds, especially for our small businesses, and especially how it impacts our immigrant communities, such as many of the your Asian communities that are your listeners. It was a busy year. We were very surprised by the invasion into the Ukraine. It occupied a lot of time. And as a city, there's limited things we can do, but we certainly introduced and passed resolutions to support the people of the Ukraine against the aggression of the Russian Federation, and certainly very sympathetic to the people in Russia who are fighting against this invasion and the aggressions. As a city, we also recognize many of the activities of the community with flag raisings and celebrations from the Ukrainian community, the Belarus community, Lithuania, Georgia, and many others. We also hosted events for Uzbekistan, and we celebrated with the people from Kyrgyzstan and a flag raising from the people from Kazakhstan. I think in addressing crime, I was successful in withholding or trying to withhold $10 million to SEPTA unless they reversed their policy, and their policy was to not provide police to people who were using public transportation. There was a lot of crime. There's still a lot of fear about the subway system, its platforms, but SEPTA, as a result, did increase the salaries of its transit police, which were very low, and that helped to stem the tide of officers leaving SEPTA, helping them to retain those officers and then recruit new officers. Still, it is a challenge with SEPTA. Their policy at the time was to not use police and to instead use the subway system as a facility for people who had drug addiction problems, mental illness, and homelessness, which, while we are all sympathetic to those problems, that is not the proper place to house people. As we move forward into the year, I was unable to impact the overly high and, I believe, improper taxation of property in this city. We did an independent audit, City Council did, of the methodology of the Office of Property Assessment, how they assess the house. And it was determined to be below industry standard, which is unacceptable. And I introduced 2 bills to reject those property increases until the methodology is above industry standard. Unfortunately, that did not pass. What did pass, however, was a bill that provided a way to enforce violations of illegal commercial vehicle parking, such as large tractor trailers, and illegal dumping. And that is a challenge to many people who live in our neighborhoods of Philadelphia, whether it be in the far northeast or in southwest Philadelphia. People are very frustrated by the trash and by the inconvenience that they have, and particularly when they're trying to park their vehicles or live in their community and they have 4 or 5 auto trailers on their block, they find it very difficult and frustrating because when they call the police or when they call any government entity, they're not getting the response that they should. So that bill was signed into law, and it allows for the city to use third-party or other entities to basically put boots on those vehicles that are illegally dumping or illegally parking in people's residential communities. It does not prevent tractor trailers from parking in industrial areas or commercial areas. They can continue to do that, but they cannot park in front of somebody's house.
Oh, right.
As we wrap up the year, I think we had certainly many challenges. One, for example, was an effort by City Council to not fund the police. And I believe that is a mistake, so I did not sign that letter. And 14 council people did. Myself and 2 others did not sign that letter. I believe that whatever we need to do to improve police services, that's something we should do, because the police should always respond politely, courteously, and professionally to any citizens. But when people call 911, they want someone to answer that phone immediately, and they want a patrol vehicle to come to their house or their business or wherever they are with emergency service that is polite, responsive, and courteous. At the end of the year, we hosted a number of events, and what stands out in my mind right now is our PHL Live Center Stage event, which for your listeners, I'll explain, is a free platform. They just submit their original music in one of 10 categories, such as classical music or hip-hop or jazz or rock or country folk. And we have excellent judges, music industry leaders who review those videos, and then they contact 5 finalists to perform live in one of the 10 venues that we select around the city. And then we don't announce the winner, but we have an awards night, which we just held at the World Cafe Live main stage. And we announce all the finalists and the winner, who gets $1,000, which is provided by corporate sponsors such as Dunkin' Donuts or Laborers Local 57 and many other sponsors, including our community sponsors. And the winners will also receive, in addition to the $1,000 cash prize, free studio recording time or photography or other types of prizes like that. And so it's a wonderful event, because what I'd like for people to understand is that music and creative arts is more than a hobby or more than a talent. It's also a wonderful and powerful economic engine for our city. Prior to the pandemic, our city was impacted by the creative arts economy in the amount of $3.4 billion. And on an annual basis, people were taking home to feed their families and to take care of themselves, $920 million. And the local taxes from the creative arts economy was $157 million. And the upward trajectory of that is very good. And so there's a lot of people who are talented or industrious, and they want to be involved in the creative arts economy, like we're doing right here. We're doing a video, right? That's part of the technology, and there's artistic abilities that are involved in that. And that's something that our city should do, because if people cannot be successful in Philadelphia, they will go somewhere else. And for those who have children, and they want their children to live and work and have their kids here in Philadelphia, we certainly want to make sure that young people have great opportunities as well. School is always a struggle, and it is something that I continue to work on, but there has been an effort by the school district to take away charters from charter schools. I am for public education. However, when public education fails, charter schools have been able to provide an alternative for people who need that. So I support them as well. We continue going into next year, because we will have our youth nonprofit symposium. For anyone watching, it's all about getting money. So if you serve children and youth as a nonprofit, we'll have our event. You can check it out if you Google Youth Nonprofit Symposium, or you look at Eventbrite. It's coming up, and it's free, but we will have funders and sponsors like Comcast and AT&T and other types of corporations that simply will tell you how to get money. Our keynote speaker is the president of the Wawa Foundation, and so they're going to hear what you do, and they're going to tell you how you get money from them, and then we're going to break into smaller sessions where you'll have more of a one-on-one opportunity to talk with them on how to get money. So those are things that we've done and what we're still working on.
Если ваши близкие нуждаются в высококвалифицированном уходе на дому, обратитесь в Aurora of Care. Сотрудники агентства помогают сохранить здоровье и радость жизни людям любого возраста. К пациенту направят медсестру, физиотерапевта, логопеда, соцработника и помощницу, которые будут работать по удобному для вас графику и общаться на вашем родном языке. Aurora принимает основные виды страховок, включая Workers' Compensation, эксклюзивную программу по помощи ветеранам West Assist и, что очень важно, оказывает детям педиатрическую помощь на дому. Звоните сейчас 215-354-44-44, добавочный 107.
Ходят слухи, что вы собираетесь избираться на мэра Филадельфии. Насколько это правда? Ну, вас люди в русскоязычной комьюнити уже знают и лично встречались с вами на многих мероприятиях. И поэтому они хотят знать, это правда или нет. Будете вы баллотироваться на мэра?
Well, the rumors are true. I am very seriously exploring running for mayor. The reason is that while we have some good people and some very experienced people, I find that their approach to how to deal with the city's problems are very similar. What they don't do, I think, is to be clear in how to address, number one, the violent crime problem. There are those who don't believe in policing, and there are those who believe in policing. But right now, the other candidates are either not believers in policing, or they are very light in how they think policing works. Unfortunately, when people are killing each other, when people are afraid to stand at the bus station, or when people are being randomly shot or terrorized by people with guns and knives, it's important that we show them that we care by providing excellent service about their safety, public safety. And that is that there's no other solution than policing. Yes, however, the police have to be well trained. They have to have good resources. They have to have technology so that they know the information accurately. But what most people care about is that if they call 911, someone answers the phone immediately, that they can answer them in the language that they are calling in, and that they will get a quick response. That usually means a patrol car at their business, at their home, wherever they may be, with a police officer who is certified, trained, and prepared to take action that the normal civilian like you and I cannot take. It's also a problem that when people do not believe that they are being protected, they resort to protecting themselves. And they don't want to do that. One of the demographics that we have is that women do not like buying guns. They don't like having guns. But the number of people who are purchasing firearms in this city, it's primarily women at the greatest amount because they feel unprotected. So it's something that we must do. It is also the fact that there's a lot of retaliation. So when someone is arrested and they are not held in prison and they are released, they go looking for whoever put them in prison, and we have violence occurring against witnesses and victims, and that just further makes people afraid to call the police, to cooperate with making the community safe. So, you know, I think that's the primary thing. But after that, we have things that need to be addressed. We just went through a pandemic. our economy is terribly impacted. And a lot of people are worried how they're going to feed their family, how they're going to take care of their future, how they're going to keep their business going. We have to focus on the economy. We have to deal with the increased cost of living. We have people on fixed income like seniors. We have people that are unemployed. And we have people who want to do well for themselves and their family, but they're looking for the opportunity. And if the government does not focus on the economy, then this will be a very difficult place. So right now, the current mayor and the city council and those running for mayor are focused on things like social justice, like diversity. Those are important issues, but they are not meat and potato issues. Those are not issues that people can really actually feel the effect of the impact. Education continues to be a problem. There's no reason why some schools are just in terrible conditions. There are neighborhoods where, unfortunately, children don't have the support at home. In those neighborhoods, school should be a solution. There should be longer classes. There should be summer learning. There should be better resources. If I look at, for example, the library, we have libraries in this city, but they need to be totally revamped. In other words, when I was a child, the library was a quiet place where you could get books. We didn't have books at our home. But now kids have smartphones, and they have access to a lot of books and videos and other things right on their phone. What do they get in a library? When I was a child, we could make a copy in a library for 5 cents, right? You could copy a book. You couldn't do that at home. But now, whatever is in the library, many children can do at home. There should be things in the library that they cannot get at home. For example, 3D printing. They should be able to get a 3D printer with their library card. They should be able to borrow things, books, of course, but other items such as violins, guitars, keyboards, they should be able to borrow those things. They should be able to play the most expensive video games out there. Yes, it's technology, it's fun for them, but it's also a way to understand technology. They can access it through their library card, even use their library card to stream at home. However, they have to return the items undamaged on time, and if they do things such as take mathematic tests or literacy tests and they score well, they'll get extra points to play those games. But the library must be clean and safe. It should be safe on the inside, no bullying, no violence. They should not tolerate any bad behavior inside and outside. And so libraries can be a safe space. If we can do that with our libraries that are open to the public, we can do that with the libraries in our schools. Some schools have great libraries and great classes and curriculum, orchestra, swimming pool, sports, but other schools in our city have none of those things. And they should all be offering a good quality education, whether you are rich or poor. So I think those are things that we can take care of. And then finally, quality of life is such an important issue because whether people live in a wealthy neighborhood, a middle-class neighborhood, a crowded neighborhood where they have a chance to go out and have a lot of fun, or a quiet neighborhood, people want to have the quality of life. And we have currently in our city, both the mayor and the district attorney have de-emphasized quality of life. They have stated that certain crimes and violations are not important enough to enforce. I think all laws should be enforced, all laws, criminal laws. And I believe that all violations of public safety, such as ATVs and dirt bikes running through red lights and weaving in and out of cars, riding up on sidewalks, that should not be tolerated. And finally, I think Kensington and its drug-addicted neighborhoods, that is something that can only exist because the city of Philadelphia allows it to exist. I know there are good-hearted people who believe that if they let drug-addicted people continue to purchase heroin and use heroin uninhibited, that is an act of kindness. I think it's a terrible act. It is not something that we can sustain, and it causes people in those neighborhoods to live in atrocious conditions. But we are also attracting from all over the region people who are addicted to drugs because they can live a drug-impacted life in Philadelphia uninhibited like no place else. And so it is unfair to their families, their loved ones, and to them to come to this city and live in those conditions. It also is the fact that the city and those who want to aid drug-addicted persons, they believe that they need to be able to access drugs. So they are not stopping drug dealing. As a result, we have too many drug dealers killing each other in order to make this money. So all of these things are bad and they must be addressed. The mayor can address it by simply no tolerance of these criminal actions, and that would return the neighborhood and the community to a better quality of life. So those are things that I think need to be done, and that's why I'm very seriously exploring. So when people say to me, but Councilman O,
You are
a Republican.
Yes.
And
No Republican was before.
not since 1950 have we had a Republican mayor. And it's 8 Democrats to 1 Republican and 1 independent. How would you possibly win?
All right.
Well, I tell them that I'm like the plumber. You know, when the plumber comes to my house, I don't ask him, are you a Democrat or Republican? And I don't want to know. I just want him to go right to the problem. You know, I'm not running as a Republican. I'm not running against Democrats. What I'm running as is a person who is offering solutions that are not being offered by other candidates. And I want to address the problem, and I believe that people are very much in need, desperate need, of these problems to be solved. So I think that the voters, not all of them, but most of them, are going to make their selection on who provides them the best answer to their own situation.
Ваши предсказания на новый 2023 год. Каким он станет для города Филадельфии? Как вы думаете?
So actually, I made a prediction, and I'm in city council, I'm in city government. A year ago, I made a prediction, and the prediction was not good. I really thought about what is going to happen. I live in southwest Philadelphia. It's a very poor, crime-ridden African-American neighborhood. I've lived there my whole life. People always ask me, why do you live there? My father was a pastor, and he had his church there, and so we are very, very connected to the neighborhood. And through all the difficulties and problems that we've had, violence, crime, I've never thought about leaving the neighborhood. But when I think about the future of Philadelphia, how it impacts my particular community, it's not good. And that's why I am exploring running for mayor. What do I foresee? I foresee a city council that will continue to try to solve problems by giving people things, but those things come at a cost, and the cost is that it makes other people poorer, it is not sustainable, and it causes people to not want to come to our city. We will not have jobs. There's a lot of blame on entrepreneurs. There's a lot of blame on landlords. There's a lot of blame on people who are trying to make a living. And it has been very bad for small businesses. You know, the city received $1.4 billion from the federal government to stimulate the economy, but the city put it all into the city's debt. That is what the mayor did, right? But it was not enough money. The city was still short $100 million. And so the city increased property tax 30%. to get $100 million. And in neighborhoods, the poorest neighborhoods of Philadelphia, the property tax went up 100% or more. And so where will the city get its money? Many people who used to work in the city and left because of the pandemic, they're not coming back, and they're not coming back because of crime. While tourists are returning, they're not returning in the numbers that we need. And, you know, again, crime and public transportation, fear of it, poor performing schools, those are many of the problems. But then the high taxes and the erratic nature of taxation in Philadelphia is preventing investors from coming here. There's more and more restrictions, more and more rules. I'm not against rules or restrictions. I'm just against needless, burdensome restrictions that cause people to invest or live or start businesses in other places. So I do think that what we see in crime will continue. because unless you address it, yes, I'm for libraries, yes, I'm for schools, yes, I'm for dealing with poverty, but that does not stop shootings and murders tonight or tomorrow. There has to be a effort to stop the bleeding, immediate cessation of violent crime, and by failing to provide people what they want, 81% of people who live in poor, violent neighborhoods say they don't have the police that they need. They want it. So who is preventing them from having it? So I would provide it to them, but because it's not being provided, we are seeing an increase in crime. And the crime is of a very bad nature. We have young people killing young people for no good reason at all. And some of these young people, when they cannot kill the young people they're trying to kill, start killing their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, children. It's terrible. It is not only bad for the victim, it's bad for the offender. You know, if we can stop them from committing crimes, we are helping them. And so they need an intervention. This whole city needs an intervention, and then we need to have a positive plan to rebuild our communities, our neighborhoods, and make this the great city that we all want it to be. And we can do that, but we're going to have to focus on that. So I am also, like everybody else, looking at who the next mayor is going to be. I will love to have a great person with a positive view and a realistic plan of both stopping crime and improving the economy and improving education and opportunity. I would love to support that person. But what I see is not good, and therefore that's why I am looking at it myself. My final thing that I'm going to say, because I said this a year ago to my council colleagues, is we're going to start experience home invasion robberies in this city, and you're going to see crime in neighborhoods that never had crime before. Crime in some of the safest, wealthiest neighborhoods of this city. And this is going to go out into the suburbs as well, because we continue to see, for example, when we have 400 people on dirt bikes and ATVs with guns, illegal weapons, riding through our city, going across red lights and intersections, they are doing it on purpose. They're doing it in defiance, and they are saying there's nothing you're going to do. I understand they're angry. I understand that. But they cannot break the law, and by us tolerating that, we are only making things worse for them and for us. Things that I would never let my children do, I will not let somebody else's children do. So when people tell me they are more kind-hearted because they understand young people and they should be able to do these type of violations, I don't believe them. If that's really what they would let their own children do, in other words, why would you let someone else's children do that? It's not good for them. None of the, and it will cost them their life.
Вы практически представили свою программу. И я понимаю, насколько у вас болит душа по поводу ситуации в Филадельфии. И мы вам искренне желаем принять участие в выборах мэра и победить на этих выборах. Спасибо большое, что вы пришли сегодня к нам. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we wish you the best in New Year, and we hope that we meet again, because we have a lot of questions for you and for City Hall.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
And we cannot do it in just 1 hour.
Yes.
Окей. Напоминаю, что спонсор нашей программы City Hall является агентство Aurora of Care. Aurora of Care делает жизнь своих пациентов комфортной и безопасной. Если у вас есть какие-то вопросы, пожалуйста, оставьте нам сообщение, звоните, лайкайте наши передачи, и до новых встреч!